And I couldn't help but wonder, what could I do to give my cookies the edge at this year's cookie swap? Testing 1, 2, 3. It's holiday time and I'm sweating. Happy holidays! We are making piggies! Yes, that's right. Nothing says holidays like piggies. And as you can see, I'm all decked out in my pig paraphernalia and also holidays. So we are making marranitos or cochinitas. Depending on what part of the country you are in, we're making little piloncillo gingerbread pigs. But the version that I'm gonna make for you today is chocolatey pigs. So we're still gonna be using the piloncillo. I'm gonna use allspice and a little bit of chile de arbol for heat because obviously we have to have a little heat in here, but because it's the holidays, we have to decorate them. So this episode is all about the decorating, from the really down and dirty, quick and easy, to the extreme and very, very extra. And as an added bonus, I'm going to be sprinkling in my cookie musings throughout the episode. So remember to like and subscribe if you like me, you like this episode, you like Choco, and you want to see more really crazy sweet heat episodes. Let's talk about the ingredients. So this cookie has a very distinctive texture. So one of the key elements, the flavor ingredients in this cookie is piloncillo. It's so rich. It kind of blows brown sugar out of the water. If you can find this, I would definitely recommend using it, but dark brown sugar works totally fine. I'm also using molasses because molasses actually has a little bit of darker caramelly and smoky notes to it, which I think pairs very well with the chocolate. Chocolate loves to be with spicy and bitter and actually warming spices. So I didn't put any chocolate in the cookie itself. I used cocoa powder. I've also added a little bit of whole wheat flour into this recipe because I like the texture and I also like the flavor. It adds a little bit of a nuttiness. I've also added whole allspice and chile de arbol because to me it just screams Christmas, and then the heat from the chile de arbol is really pleasant, and these are all very Mexican flavors. So you've got chocolate, you've got allspice, and then you've got the chile de arbol. All of those flavors pair so well together, and then you put them in a pig cookie and it's like, wow, like what could possibly be more festive than a pig? Vanilla. So normally I would call for vanilla extract, but there's also something really deep and rich and musky about a vanilla bean. If you can put those two things together in one delicious liquid that you can add to your cookies and your cakes, that is nirvana. And that is what vanilla bean paste is. It's basically the best of both worlds. It's cheaper than buying vanilla beans, but you get this really, really intense vanilla-y flavor. And now that that's out of the way, let's make some cookies. And I couldn't help but wonder, what tools do I need to bake these cookies? Well, a sheet pan, parchment paper, a cooling rack, an oven thermometer, an ice cream scoop or cookie cutters, and a rolling pin with silicone rings, AKA rubber bands. And we're off to the mixer.
Do you have to mix the dry ingredients first?
Oh, yeah. Good call. So I never like to sift anything. The one thing that I do think that you have to sift is cocoa, and sometimes depending on like how humid your living environment is, since I'm by the beach, it's very humid here, and what ends up happening is the baking powder and the baking soda tend to clump up. So this is the one time that I actually think that you do need to sift things. So I'm gonna go ahead and just dump my flour into both flours, the whole wheat and the AP in the bowl, and then just take my little fine mesh strainer, dump the cocoa, and dump the leaveners, and then just give it a tap. And you get clouds of chocolate, which is not bad at all. Now what I'm gonna do is just go in with my fingers and then just push everything through the sieve. And you can see, look, everything is nice and fine and mixed in. And then this step is actually really important because we have now in this bowl all of the dry ingredients that are just layered on top of one another. And so it's really important to whisk them together to make sure that everything is evenly distributed. Sebas, let's go to the mixer. So we're gonna just add in the butter. This is the consistency you're looking for with any cookie. You want like light and fluffy. The butter changes color, the sugar is dissolved, the salt dissolves in there. It's like really, really delicious. I'm gonna have some. So good. Oh. Butter and piloncillo, yum, and vanilla paste, oh my God. So in the recipe, I'm calling for ground allspice and cayenne. But I actually really, really like the flavor of whole spices. I have 2 teaspoons of allspice berries, and instead of cayenne, I'm actually gonna use chile de arbol. So I've just got 2, throw them in my spice grinder, and grind them up. Take 2, and now all you do is grind it up. Okay, so now we're just gonna add all of our freshly ground dried spices to that. I'll give it a little whisk, and then we will add them to the butter and piloncillo. Okay, back to the mixer. All right, this dough is done. So it needs a good 3-hour rest. So I'm going to put it in plastic wrap it up, put it in the fridge, and let it rest. And I couldn't help but wonder, what can I do to get a head start with all my holiday cookie baking? Wow, I could have made this cookie dough a month ago and kept it in the freezer this whole time. All right, I'll make it now, freeze it, then bake the cookies the day before the party and decorate them just before the guests arrive. Okay, so we're finally ready to roll and cut. So I want to talk a little bit about the piggy itself and the cookie cutter. You can use whatever cutter you want. Pig is traditional and they're super cute. Just look for the one that you think is really super cute and buy that one. The other tool that I really, really love that makes this whole project so super easy is this 5-2 rolling pin. Not only is it a rolling pin, but it also has these amazing rubber bands. So you're probably thinking, why do you need rubber bands on a rolling pin? Well, whenever you make cookies or pie dough or anything that needs to be rolled out, in the recipe, you will always see roll it out to 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, whatever. These are the 1/4 inch thick rubber bands. You put them on the end of the rolling pin, and then you just roll out. And then once you get to the proper thickness, you can't go down any further, and you have this beautiful, completely uniform cookie dough. That was my ad for the day. Okay, so this is one of the doughs that I made last night. In the recipe, I talk about dividing the dough into 4 pieces and wrapping each individual piece and flattening it out. This makes your life a lot easier because it's gonna be really firm when it comes out of the refrigerator. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to generously flour the parchment. I have found with this particular dough, it's almost impossible to overflour because there's a lot of moisture. The flour will just get sucked up, and you don't want it to stick to the parchment paper as you roll. You know, there's a lot of different techniques to roll out cookie dough. I use the sandwich method, which is 2 pieces of parchment. You can also use wax paper if you don't have parchment, and then you just roll. And it's not like a pie dough, it's like really smooth, it's really easy to roll out. And then because it's on parchment, you can just easily flip it around and roll in this angle, make it a little bit longer. And that is it. We are at 1/4 of an inch thick. And voila, perfectly rolled dough. Okay, so I put my bench flour on a little saucer, and I want it flat so that I can dip my cookie cutter in there. And then I'm just gonna find the perfect little nook and then push down and easily released. I'll go again and then just go around. I usually go around the perimeter and then just continue cutting, try and maximize the space. They're so cool looking.
It's like a puzzle.
It's a piggy puzzle. Okay, so this is another one of my favorite tools. I realize that I have a lot of favorite tools in this video, but this is a very specialized job that we're doing, and these tools make it super easy. So this is my offset spatula. And so when you are taking the cookies off the parchment, I find that this offset spatula, especially if you get a little bit of flour on it, is super easy. You can just run it under the piggy, and then you can lift it up and then just place it on your parchment lined cookie sheet. I got 6 out of this round of dough. So what I'm gonna do now is just take up all the scraps. They're very, very soft right now. So I'm just going to wad them all up. I don't wanna overwork them at this point. Although because of the cocoa powder and the whole wheat flour, I'm not really worried about developing any gluten. So I'm just going to squish this all together until it comes back together. And then I'm gonna throw this in the freezer for about 10 minutes, and then it will be ready to roll out again. Okay, so these are gonna go into a 350-degree oven, center rack, for about 10 to 12 minutes, and they were gonna be really delicious and tender when they're done.
I couldn't help but wonder, why am I being so overambitious? I mean, if I'm pressed for time, I can just bake and eat. They're perfectly fine just the way they are. If I'm feeling really pumped, I can give them a chocolate dip or drizzle. And if I'm feeling really extra, I'll pull out the gold leaf.
It is time to decorate. Okay, so cookies have cooled. Actually, to be honest, the cookies that I just pulled out of the oven are back there cooling. These I made last night, so they are perfectly ready to decorate. The chocolate has cooled ever so slightly. And now you could do a number of different things. You could drizzle it, you could paint it, whatever you feel like. I want to get chocolate on the entire thing. And I just feel like dipping it in is the best way to do that, because I want a nice, even, beautiful coating of chocolate. Also, when I take a bite out of it, I want it to be chocolatey all over. And so that is what it looks like.
And I couldn't help but wonder, what's in my pantry that I can use to decorate these cookies? I don't need to special order those fancy sprinkles or those freeze-dried whatever. I can use the seeds and nuts that I already own in my pantry. And I couldn't help but wonder, how am I gonna get these cookies to the party without f***ing up the decorations? I'm gonna put the undecorated cookies in a clean deli container and put the decorated cookies in a clean, unused pizza box. Just ask your local pizzeria to give you a clean box.
Oh my God, my head is kind of spinning because there are so many glittery, delicious, yummy, sweet, and spicy treats on this table. Gold, I think, is my favorite because obviously I love glitter, but it's so cute. Look, it's so cute. I'm gonna die. Here we go. The really nice thing about the combination of a cocoa cookie and then the melted chocolate top is that you get this contrast of like deep, bittersweet cocoa flavor. It's almost like coffee. And then the chocolate almost tastes fruity. It's like bright, a little bit acidic, smooth and creamy. And then you get a little bit of the allspice and then that nice gentle heat that's just sort of lingering on my tongue. So you need to make these. You're gonna win your cookie swap. People are gonna be blown away by how gorgeous they are. And as always, if you like me, if you like this recipe, if you like choco and you wanna see more crazy sweet heat recipes, make sure you hit like and subscribe and you will be notified as soon as there's another Sweet Heat episode, which will be our end of year, beginning of the year brunch. It's going to be a really delicious sweet heat, spicy, and slightly sweet and delicious brunch. It might be shrimp and grits. Who knows? Stay tuned.
And just like that, I'll be spreading cheer this year with my festive, holiday, dirty little piggies.
Happy holidays! Happy holidays, Choco! Happy holidays! Choco, give me